Of course, Congress has authority over the FBI. It's not the other way around, as much as the FBI would like to believe that. So this deception would be gross misconduct at minimum. But, of course, gross misconduct would be nothing new in the FBI of Jim Comey. Dan Bongino was a former Secret Service agent and NYPD officer, and he joins us tonight. Dan, this is one of those stories that's so shocking, if true, that A, you don't want to believe it's true, that our government would do, the Obama administration would have done something like that. But B, you have to press carefully on the details. What do we know about this?
Yeah, you're right, Tucker. For the sake of the constitutional republic, you pray this story isn't true. There's no partisan advantage. This is the very idea of having big R God-given rights has been shredded if, in fact, they can't produce hard evidence of any crime yet, and yet a human intelligence asset may have been inserted in your political rival's campaign. I mean, how this isn't front page news on every newspaper across the globe is stunning. But, Tucker, that's not it, though. Keep in mind, just a couple weeks ago, Devin Nunes on this network in an interview with Maria Bartiromo had another bombshell, that there was no official foreign intelligence through official channels passed into the United States. That was a huge bombshell because notice what he didn't say. He didn't say it didn't pass through unofficial channels. So we know two things. Potentially that information was laundered through the State Department and potentially the U.S. Senate. And yes, we know there was potentially a human asset in the Trump campaign. Unbelievable.
Is there any precedence for this? Has this ever happened before? Has it ever been alleged before in a presidential campaign?
Not in the United States. I'm sure it's happened in some spy novels and in some third world countries where this may be common. But, Tucker, this is a story so unbelievable on its face that I've said to people, it's like the sickest spy novel I've ever read, except it actually happened. If you were to give this to a book agent and tell them it was a story about the United States government, they very well might laugh at you and say, this is so absurd, this could never happen. But, Tucker, I have my suspicions about who this asset is, as do many others, by the way. This is going to be explosive, though, when this name comes out, because the list of suspects is very short. And there are some very suspicious people who are connected to people within our intelligence community now. But this is the key point, Tucker. Also connected to political operators working for Democrats while connected to foreign intelligence assets as well. This is really serious stuff. This isn't a joke. And like you said before, I really wish none of this was true, but it appears sadly that it is.
Well, I mean, it would be a crime to begin with. Do you think it's true? Is there evidence that the FBI was receiving information from within the Trump campaign during the campaign?
Yes, and they're not only that. I believe there's more than one source for the FBI. Now, whether there was more than one source that was paid may be an entirely different story. I believe that based on reporting, Tucker, that's already out there. So, I know a lot of people out there love the conspiracy theory label when information makes them uncomfortable. I'm only telling you things that are already out there in the public domain. There are a number of names out there already of people who, by the way, are connected to the Obama team. One person who's being represented by Obama's former White House lawyer, Tucker, was present at a meeting Bob Mueller's investigating. A meeting right now with Russians that they're claiming has to do with Trump, but the meeting was with people who are actually connected to the Clintons. One of the guys at the meeting is literally being represented by Obama's former White House lawyer, who, by the way, worked with Andy Weissman, who's working with Bob Mueller on the special counsel when they were on the Enron prosecution. This is a big, contaminated witch's brew of people who are all connected to each other.
And in some ways not surprising, because they always accuse you of what they're doing, a la Eric Schneiderman. I mean, it's a very... Thank you, Dan. It was great to see you tonight. I appreciate that.
Yes, sir, you got it.
Programming note, last night we mentioned the creepy porn lawyer you've just been hearing about, the one you've seen on TV recently threatening people. And it got us thinking, so we checked. According to the Washington Free Beacon, between March 7th and yesterday, that guy appeared on CNN and MSNBC 108 times. That's according to one source. The real number could be higher than that. Anyway, it's a lot of CNN and MSNBC, and we thought we would add a little diversity to his media diet, diversity, of course, being our strength. So we invited the creepy porn lawyer onto this show. We called his office, or what he said was his office. It may have been a booth at a Wendy's in Passaic, maybe a White Castle, you never know. In any case, he turned us down flat. Too bad. Would have been fun. Maybe when Jeff Zucker tires of him over at CNN, he will reconsider our offer. That won't be long. we'd enjoy it. Instead, tonight, we're joined by someone who is not an actual porn lawyer, but has closely followed the career of the guy we were just talking about. Julian Epstein is a former chief counsel to Democrats in the House Judiciary Committee, and he joins us tonight. Julian, thanks a lot for coming on.
Good evening, Tucker.
There's a bit of a disconnect here. The argument from Democrats from day one has been that President Trump is too shady to be president. In order to make that case, they're now using a creepy porn lawyer with a history of financial problems. Is he really the best standard bearer for your message, would you say?
Well, I think Michael Avenatti has been effective on television. I think he's been effective in advancing the interests of his client, and he's used television much more effectively than most lawyers do. I'm not sure he is the standard bearer for Democrats. I think he has. I think the Stormy Daniels issue, to be honest, I think Essential Consultants, is a sideshow. I think there is nothing in Essential Consultants' story that we know where there's any laws that are necessarily broken, but I think there are relevant questions that should be asked about was Essential Consultants being used for a Russian slush fund, a campaign finance slush fund, for laundering money, lots of things that people have kind of been breathlessly alleging, but there's no evidence of. I think there's questions to be asked,
there's no,
but certainly no evidence of any legal violation. But I don't think that's the central issue. I still think, if I can just finish the point, Tucker, I still think the central question here for Democrats, as far as Democrats are concerned, is whether the president knew or was actively involved in Russian interference in any way. And there's no evidence of that. I'm not saying there's evidence of that.
And by the way, I agree, but then why? Look, I think that is a central question. There's no evidence more than a year in. Maybe we're going to find out that he teamed up with Putin to steal the election from Hillary. Probably not going to find that out. But for the point right now, it's all about the creepy porn lawyer. And I'm wondering, what exactly is the point of this? I don't know what the interests of his client are. I don't know who he represents. I do know I'd be very uncomfortable if he got a hold of my confidential bank records. Wouldn't you?
Well, I think we need to find out how he got the information, for sure. I think there are questions there. But to be honest, Tucker, I think your indictment is of the industry that you're a participant in, which is the cable television industry. I think it is the obsession of the cable television industry. I think Bob Mueller and the Democrats, for their part, are not necessarily obsessed about this,
Julian, you've been doing this a long
money.
time. Cable responds to ratings. I don't think he's been on this channel. As I just said, we tried to have him on the show because I want to meet this guy. He should
come on this show.
I think it would be amusing as hell, but he's too busy on the other channels whose viewers are responding. That's why Jeff Zucker's put him on, every day for 2 months. So he really is one of the most famous Democrats in America. He's a partisan Democrat. He worked on Democratic campaigns, dozens of them. So what does that tell you?
But I don't think that's where the Democratic Party is right now. I mean, I think what Avenatti is doing is relevant because it gets to whether there were campaign finance violations with the Stormy Daniels payment. It gets to whether Essential Consultants was being misused as a Russian slush fund, as a campaign finance slush fund.
But how would creepy porn lawyer know about the Russian connection? What expertise does he have? I mean, is he like a Russian speaker or an expert on Russian slush funds?
I don't want to get off subject, but Essential Consultants, Michael Cohen's law firm, had a client whose principal beneficiary, whose principal benefactor was a Russian oligarch connected to Putin.
Right. No, I read the story.
So there are questions there, Tucker.
What does that have to do with creepy porn lawyer?
I just want to make another point.
Yeah, very quick.
I want to make another point because I don't think that he is a standard bearer for Democrats. I think what Democrats are saying is not impeachment, not that Trump violated criminal laws, but let's get the facts on the table. We know that people around Trump,
I've heard
who were considered to be Russian agents.
Let me ask you, we're almost out of time.
No evidence that Trump did that.
Right. And maybe we'll find out again that, he teamed up with Putin.
Right. But that's where Democrats
let me just ask you one last question. And please answer honestly. Picture yourself standing in your kitchen at night getting one last glass of water from the kitchen sink, and you look out into the backyard, and there's creepy porn lawyer. How do you respond?
Well, I live in an apartment building, so I don't think I'd be able to see him if I looked out.
Let's see you see him in the alley outside. How do you respond? What's your gut reaction? You see that guy in your backyard. How do you respond?
I would invite Avenatti in because I'd have a lot of questions I'd like to talk to him about. If I saw anybody outside my if I saw anybody outside my kitchen when I was having my last glass of water at night, of course I would be creeped out. As would you, of course I would. But that doesn't mean that he's not raising. Okay, it doesn't mean, Tucker, that he's not raising some significant
You know what? I'm an open-minded man, as you know, Julian. I'm just raising some important questions, I think. Thanks for joining us. I appreciate it.